Yes, still in the mood of celebration. Celebration of what? Well, Crystal TV is one of the best television stations we have in the world. Well, we just won an award, and there is no more in news that Crystal TV is the only television station that was picked on the continent of Africa for this prestigious award. Well, congratulations to our viewers, and congratulations to the management of Crystal TV, and of course, congratulations to some of us who have the opportunity of coming across your way every Saturday. The program is still Trailblazers Africa. My name is Moses Owopade, and today we'll be talking to someone that has seen it all. Someone who is a father, a grandfather. Well, my guest today on the program, Trailblazers Africa, was the Justice of High Court in 1966 to 1970 and 1972 to 1977. He became the Justice of the Court of Appeal in 1977 up to 1980. And in 1970 to 1972, he was the Justice of the Supreme Court of Ghana, and also the same office he held in 1980 through 1985. Well, he was the Electoral Commissioner that was responsible for the election that returned civilian rule or civilian administration to Ghana in 1968 to 1976. He was a member of the Commonwealth Lawyers Association, a founder of the Commonwealth Trust London, a Secretary Law Reform Committee, Uganda, 1964 to 1966. And guess what? At 86, he's still a civil servant, perhaps the oldest civil servant we have on the continent of Africa today. And even at 86, he's very, very agile that he can challenge Ashafa Powell for 100-meter dash. I mean what I'm talking about. Well, I have the pleasure to bring to you my honorable guest today, Honorable Justice Vincent Crabb is my guest on today's edition of Trailblazers Africa. I'd like to say good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Oh, great to have you on the program.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
Well, at 86, you are still bouncing. What is the secret?
Well, I think the first thing I have to say is that's a gift from God. So I have to give Almighty the thanks for the age which I have, the health which I'm enjoying, and the ability still to serve my country. I'm very grateful for that. Apart from that, I'm also a vegetarian. And I have been a vegetarian practically all my life. As a child, I never liked meat. And then intuitively, as I grew older, I stopped eating fish. So for a very long time, I can say that since 1950, I've never eaten fish.
1950?
Meat or eggs.
Wow. Wow, since 1950?
Yes. I've never drank beer in my life. I've never drank whiskey in my life. When I go to communion, then I drink a little bit of wine, and that's all the alcohol I have.
So let's have a little background about who Justice Crabb is.
Well, I was born in Accra here. Accra. I went to Government Boys, Junior Boys School in Jamestown, then Senior Boys School at Kimbu over there. From there, I went to the Accra Academy. And from Accra Academy, interestingly enough, I originally wanted to be a doctor. So I did intermediate science prelim at Presbyterian Secondary School at Odumashi, just as a 6 months course. I couldn't gain an entrance to Chimota to do the course because a telegraph sent to me what did not arrive in time. I eventually found myself working at police headquarters, where I tried to do intermediate BA. Then my brothers realized I could do something. I went to England. I did economics at the City of London College, entered the Honourable Society of the Inner Temple and read for the bar. Then I became Assistant Crown Counsel. I've never been in private practice. I've been in public service all my life. And from one station to another, here I am.
At what year were you called to the bar?
1955.
1955.
I was called to the bar.
And since then, how would you say the practice has been?
Well, as I said, I have not been in private practice.
Okay.
I have been on government side all the time, but I was Crown Counsel. And then earlier on, I was trained specifically to become a parliamentary counsel. And that meant that I ceased to go to court, but became one of the people who were drafting legislation for the government. And I've had the opportunity of serving in that capacity in Uganda. I was first parliamentary counsel in Uganda for some time. And I came back to this country. So I've been drafting legislation. Since 1974, I've actually been teaching legislative drafting to Commonwealth participants. And then I worked in, I was doing the course here. 1976 and 1979, I was in Lagos. I was there when you had your coup. I was there when you had your elections and the election petitions about Shehu Shagari and all of that. I was in Nigeria. Then I came back. In 1980, I was one of the Commonwealth observers to the Zimbabwe elections. Then I came back. I had to. Then there was a coup in this country. But before then, I was sent to Nairobi by the Commonwealth Secretariat to go and teach legislative drafting. From Nairobi, I went to Zimbabwe. From Zimbabwe, I ended up in the University of West Indies as a professor of legislative drafting.
Now,
So
you've been handling constitution here and there.
Yes.
Reforms here and there.
Yes.
But how would you rate the independence of judiciary in Africa today?
I can't talk much about most of the African countries.
Okay, using Ghana as a case study?
I have experience in Zimbabwe, and I can tell you that at least at the time I was there, it was a first-class judiciary. Because I have also been a member of the judiciary in this country, I wouldn't like to say much about this country. I much prefer other people to speak about the judiciary, because then you see, I'll be comparing two things. I'm not on the bench now.
Okay. So let's look at the government, the executive, and the judiciary. Most times, take for instance in Nigeria today, the election, 2007 election, we still have some cases in the court, the tribunal. Now, being a long person in the law industry, legislation, and what have you, how can we cope all of this? A situation where the case will still linger at the tribunal for a long time against the ruling party?
I think it depends upon the climate in a particular country. If I take the example of Ghana, during the last year's election, the courts set up a course specifically to deal with election petitions. And the few that went to the courts were expeditiously dealt with. So at the moment, we don't have an election petition hanging on in this country.
Yeah.
The Chief Justice set up a court to deal with election petitions, and they've been done expeditiously. So we don't have a problem with that. I do know that previously an election petition had hung on for a very long time. But now, the situation is drastically changed.
But how about other African countries?
Well, I'm not much in the know about other African countries, whether the election petitions take a long time or not. I know that under our courts in this country, you're supposed to deliver judgment within 3 months. So I would expect that probably that happens in other African countries.
Now let's look at these constitution reforms. You have been there, but the committees are put together by the executive. Are they really having the free hand to put the constitution right that will be to the benefit of the populace? Now, bearing in mind that somebody appointed you.
Somebody has to appoint somebody in the nature of things. I can't appoint myself to do something. Somebody has to appoint you. But you are appointed because the person who appointed you perceives or knows that you are the type of person who would bring your experience and your expertise to what you are being called to do. In the end, it ends up with your personal integrity. Because you've been appointed by Mr. A, if you are faced with a problem in constitution writing, it does not mean that you have to go by the wishes of Mr. A. You have to be objective, because you are not writing a constitution for Mr. A. You are writing a constitution for the country as a whole. And you have to take the values of your society, the historical antecedents of your country, and then write the constitution. Because don't forget, you see, that a constitution has three aspects. A constitution is a political testament. A constitution is a historical document. A constitution is a legal instrument. The Constitution has these three important aspects. You can take the Constitution of any country and you can read its history in it. You can read its social values in it. And then, of course, it is a legal instrument. Now, the main purpose of a legal instrument, such as a Constitution, is to define the powers of the respective institutions of government. But more important is to place limitations on government. People often don't appreciate that one of the functions of a constitution is to place limitations on the powers of those who are in government. It's very, very important for all of us to appreciate that. So whenever I hear people say that, oh, this constitution can't work, that constitution can't work, because I cannot do this, I cannot do that. The constitutions are there to place limitations on the powers of those who govern, because the constitution is not primarily for those who govern. The constitution is also for those who are governed. That's why you start the American Constitution and say, we the people. It doesn't say the government, it says we the people.
Now then, what is the role of immunity now? Now someone is in government and the Constitution is there to check him, as a check and balance, to bring about, to tell him his limitation. But because of the immunity clause, so how do we...
And the immunity clause is for a specific purpose.
Okay.
The whole of the Constitution is there for the whole of the people of the country. And the people in respect of whom, for example, you've got the transitional provisions you're talking about. They will be there for a time. The Constitution is not intended to exist for only 2 years or the lifetime of a particular human being. The Constitution is intended to be there forever. Those who wrote the American Constitution are all dead, but the American Constitution is there, and that's what we want our constitutions to do in our countries in Africa. You don't want constitutions, A comes to power, changes the Constitution, B comes to power, changes the Constitution. Then we don't move forward. We're standing at the same place. Constitutions are not perfect because they are drafted by human beings. If there are certain things which we do think are good, we can amend the Constitution and we go forward. That is what constitutions are meant for.
Yeah, but when you look at the issue of the Constitution, the people that the Constitution is to guide don't have the access in most cases to the Constitution. The Constitution is not meant for the educated ones alone. It's meant for everybody. How do we communicate this information to the downtrodden?
In Ghana, we have translated, I believe, the Constitution to some of the vernacular languages. Yes, there have been what you call pocket editions of the Constitution. Occasionally, you have what you call a Constitution Week, and people give lectures and seminars to bring the contents of the Constitution to the people generally. So it's not just a question of a few people. That's one aspect of the matter. The other aspect of the matter also is that if you are a citizen in the country and you are interested in the affairs of your country, you should make it your responsibility to understand your rights. You see, the problem sometimes is not the problems of government. The problems sometimes are the problems with us, the people.
Mm.
If let me take just a simple example. If I ask you now that if a policeman says he has arrested you, what do you think are your rights? You may not know your rights. So if you don't know your rights, then the policeman deals with you as his rights. But if the policeman says, come to the station, you say, what for? He'll stand up. You said you've arrested me. What have you arrested me for? Make a statement. Why should I make a statement? You follow what I mean? But because the average person does not know his rights and does not probably want to know his rights, he's so busy trying to do other things that he doesn't know about these things. But the machinery is there for him to know about these things. And as I said, in this country, occasionally you have the Constitution week, and fundamental human rights are brought down to the level of the average person. Moreover, the courts are there. And I think in every country, however poor you are, the average person knows that the courts are there. It is because of this reason that in our Constitution, the Ghana Constitution, there is a provision that anybody can go to court if that person feels that a provision of the Constitution, not necessarily concerning him, but a provision of the Constitution generally, is not being properly dealt with. He has the right to go to court. And the courts will make it possible for him to have counsel, to put up his case. It's in our Constitution.
Yeah, that is possible in a situation where we have the public hearing, system. But in a situation where the provision is not available, I know so many countries in Africa that do not give the people the opportunity to appeal. To go to court. Even majority of people think that court is for the rich.
Yeah, you see, that perception is some of the things we have to erase. Again, that boils down to educating people about their rights, educating people about the provisions of the Constitution, educating people to stand up for their rights. You see, as I said, we elect people to government. We don't elect them for their beauty, for their houses. We elect them to represent us. And therefore, we, the people, have to insist that the people we elect represent the interests of the country, not their peculiar personal interests. So the fault may be with us, not with them.
The fault may be with us and not with them. State Trailblazers Africa have been speaking with Justice Vincent Crabb. We'll go on this short break and we're back.